Shang fell from his horse and lost his memory. He forgot that I am his fiancée. I brought his notebook filled with my name, hoping to try and awaken his memories. But I saw the white moonlight female lead, Lu Shiyi, leaning in his arms. Juoyan, I am sorry. You pretended to have amnesia to deceive Miss Shen for my sake. I am so afraid she'll blame you, she cried like a pear blossom in the rain, and when mentioning me, Shang Juoyan's eyes were full of gloom. Who told her to make such a fuss? Don't worry, after I accompany you to seek medical treatment and return, I'll explain things to her properly. So it turns out, he didn't lose his memory. But he doesn't know that I don't want to wait for his explanation anymore. The second day after he and Lu Shiyi left, I found a merchant caravan heading to Deer City. Need a guard. I don't want wages, just provide meals. I know the boss of the merchant caravan. Last year when I accompanied Shang Juoyan's triumphant return to the capital, we traveled together for a while. The matter of young General Shang and the divorced Princess Cheng leaving the capital together caused quite a stir in the capital. The boss probably heard about it too, but he didn't ask much. He just smiled and said, "We need one, but our trade has a taboo against owing wages. Miss, are you coming back? Let's be clear up front if you don't come back. The wages can only be counted as half." I thought about it. Over these years, the military stipend I received on the battlefield had long been spent on medicine that went into my stomach. After returning to the capital, I lived at Shang Juoyan's residence. Food, clothing, and all expenses were provided by the merchant family. It seems that apart from an imperially bestowed red-tasseled spear, I couldn't take anything with me. And arriving in Deer City, I'd need to settle down and make a living, which indeed required money. So I didn't refuse. Nodded. All right. The caravan departed at dawn the next day. The thick fog of night hadn't yet dispersed, and the rumbling sound of wheels was inevitably frightening. Before long, someone opened up the conversation. They chattered back and forth, and somehow the topic turned to me. "Miss Shen, I saw you last year on the way back to the capital from Huzhou. You drove away those horse bandits for us. That bearing of yours was truly magnificent. Miss Shen, you are really amazing. In all my years, it is the first time I've seen a woman join the army. Miss Shen, isn't next month supposed to be your wedding date with young General Shang? You are just leaving like this, not getting married." Sound. The young carpenter who spoke was smacked hard on the head. The entire caravan instantly fell silent. Even their breathing seemed to become cautious. But I didn't really mind. Smiled. That is right. Not getting married anymore. Having been hit, the young carpenter still couldn't suppress his curiosity. Why, right. Why indeed? Because the system said the mission failed. Or because Shang Juoyan deliberately pretended to have amnesia. Or perhaps because of that jade hairpin that Shang Juoyan personally polished and sent to Lu Shi. You don't seem to be too clear about it either. Probably a forced melon isn't sweet, I guess. 2 months ago, a young lady suddenly moved into a side courtyard of the Shang residence. The side courtyard was kept tightly closed at all times. Shang Juoyan forbade the servants from spreading word, forbade me from asking yet. He sent the finest tea leaves and the best quality silver charcoal from the estate into that side courtyard. Actually, I knew who was living there, because news of Prince Cheng and Princess Cheng's divorce had long spread throughout the streets and alleys. Princess Cheng Lu Shi 5 years ago, when the system first found me and told me this world was a storybook. I knew then that she was the woman Shang Juoyan had been thinking about obsessively for many years. The male and female leads have married. The story has already concluded. But it is detected that the original second male lead suffered severe emotional trauma and has serious self-destructive tendencies, so you've been selected to redeem Shang Juoyan. Redeem someone else? I had never thought about it, because I was just an orphan girl going hungry every day, barely able to save myself. But while redeeming him, could he also redeem the lonely and desperate me? That is what I thought at the time. So when the system asked if I was willing, I nodded. That year, I concealed my female identity and joined the army following Shang to Zhenzhou to fight against the Western Rong army. I blocked swords for him, charged into battle for him. When he was tormented by pain and injury, I braved heavy rain to get medicine for him. Several times he recklessly fought enemies in self-destructive ways and was hit by sharp arrows. It was also me who carried him back from death's door. The day my female identity was exposed, I was with him as a scout surveying enemy positions when we were surrounded by a wolf pack. When the alpha wolf leaped up to bite his neck, I urgently blocked it and was bitten on the shoulder, exposing my chest bindings. That day, he didn't rush to bandage my wounds. Instead, he asked me coldly, "What is your purpose in deliberately getting close to me?" My purpose? I just wanted someone to love me. To love me the way I loved him. That is all. But it was clearly him who took the initiative to bring me back to the capital and settle me in his residence. It was him who took the initiative to ask the emperor for a marriage decree. It was also him who filled his journals with my name, often feeling fortunate to have me by his side. Yet 3 days after Lu Shi moved into the residence, he came to find me. She was poisoned years ago, and it left her with lingering health issues. It is serious and can't be delayed any longer. I must accompany her to Shu to seek medical treatment. Shu? That is so far away. Shu is far away, and there are still 3 months until our wedding. Can you make it back in time? That day I asked him this, and he smiled, pulling me into his embrace. Of course, I'll definitely make it back in time. But it was only a few days after those promise-like words were spoken. He got into a competitive chase with Prince Cheng on the main street, fell from his horse, and lost his memory. Actually, I never believed that amnesia was something you could fake. But that day when he looked at me with a frown, his eyes were ice cold and utterly unfamiliar. I heard from Butler Liu that you are my fiancée. I am sorry, Miss Shen, I don't remember. Although this is an arranged marriage, the wedding. Let's put it on hold for now. I need time to think. He spoke to himself, instructing Butler Liu to inform relatives and friends. The doctor said people or things that left deep impressions might help stimulate his memory recovery. So I went to the study to find that notebook where he had written my name all over it. But when I returned to the room, I heard Lu Shiai's voice outside the door. Brother Shang, what if Miss Shen finds out later that you didn't lose your memory? Will she blame you? And Shang Zhuo's tone was impatient. What right does she have? Accompanying you to seek medical treatment was something I promised you years ago. If she hadn't insisted on getting married, how would I have resorted to this? Don't worry, Shiai. This has nothing to do with you. After half a year, when I return with you from Shu, I'll explain everything to her properly. Half a year at that moment. It suddenly dawned on me. So 3 months wasn't nearly enough time for them to make a round trip to Shu between marrying me and accompanying Lu Shiai to seek medical treatment. He had long ago chosen the latter. 5 years of companionship meant nothing to him. And to me, it was just a melon bitter to the taste. 5 years of companionship, taking arrows for him, braving the rain to seek medicine, carrying him back from death's door, only to be repaid with an elaborate deception. He said he would return before the 3-month wedding date, but the female lead suddenly realized that a round trip to Shu takes far more than 3 months from the very beginning. She was merely a backup option in his calculations. Sister Shen, you are so wonderful. You'll surely find someone who truly loves you. On the day we parted in Deer City, the young carpenter blushed as he pressed a wooden carved rabbit into my hands. The little rabbit was lifelike and adorable. I had often seen him carving it. I never expected he would give it to me. I felt somewhat happy. But this happiness was different from the joy I felt after returning to the capital, when I saw Shang Zhuoyan constantly polishing a jade hairpin and thought he was going to give it to me. After thinking for a moment, I pulled out from my chest the wolf fang that Shang Zhuoyan and I had hunted together. I handed it to him. For you, to ward off evil. The merchant caravan left. They were continuing west, heading to Tuesday Province. Following the system's prompt, I entered a tavern. The system said my next redemption target would come here today. But I waited for 2 hours. I didn't see anyone, but instead heard some gossip. have you heard? That young general from the Shang family in the capital has gone mad, searching everywhere for his fiancée. Fiancée? Who? Didn't he leave the capital with Princess Cheng? Who knows? I heard he was originally going to Shu, but suddenly changed course halfway, and apparently went to Tuesday Province instead. The buzzing sound of discussion made me feel somewhat irritated, an itch at my waist. It seemed someone was messing with my money pouch. I instinctively reached out and caught the thieving hand. Turning my head, I met a pair of distinct black and white eyes. Let go of this young master, look everyone. Someone's hitting people. A bad woman is bullying a child. A half-grown child, though, wearing worn-out men's clothing, but obviously a girl. I was somewhat stunned, because the instant I locked eyes with her, a system voice suddenly rang out in my mind. Congratulations. Host has made contact with the mission target. I never imagined that the person I needed to redeem would be a half-grown child, but before I could think it through, she had already taken advantage of the chaos to break free from my hand, like a small fish diving into the crowd, disappearing into the alley in the blink of an eye. The tavern's waiter came over upon hearing the commotion. Listening to the customers' discussion, he looked annoyed. Bah, must be that little brat Zhao Xiaoyi. Again, her hands are quick as lightning. Dear customer, please check if you are missing anything. Zhao Xiaoyi, how could a girl have such a name? Puzzled in my heart, I still followed the waiter's suggestion and felt around in my clothes. Indeed, something was missing. Missing was the wooden rabbit that the little carpenter had given me before parting. Guest, if what you lost is valuable, you should report it to the authorities quickly. That girl Jia Xiaoyi has no father or mother, slippery as a loach. Who knows how many times she has done this, and every time we can't catch her. From their discussion, I learned that Jiao Xiaoyi wasn't originally called Jiao Xiaoyi. Some had called her Little Bastard, others had called her Jinx. Until the year before last, she stole a book that a scholar was organizing and editing for the government office, and was chased and cursed at. This old man spent months painstakingly completing the editing with red and black annotations, and it was almost ruined by you yellow-haired girl. How detestable, truly detestable. That time, the authorities punished her with 5 heavy paddle strikes as a warning. The name Zhao Yi spread like that. Miss, that Zhao Yi is a repeat offender. If you catch her, you must punish her severely. But I shook my head. Forget it. It is not anything valuable. I too was once an orphan girl. I dug for wild vegetables, gnawed on tree bark. When hungry enough, I also had crooked thoughts about other people's money pouches. Unless absolutely desperate, who would be willing to wander the streets stealing like chickens and dogs? I heard that beggars in the city are driven outside the city walls before nightfall, gathering at the Earth God Temple 5 Li outside the city. I knew Jiao Xiaoyi was there too, but I didn't go looking for her immediately. Instead, I went to the employment agency and spent 1 tael of silver to rent a dilapidated small courtyard on the outskirts of the city, bought some more rice, grain, and flour, made simple arrangements, then headed to the west side of the city. Jiao Xiaoyi wasn't at the Earth God Temple. I wandered around, asked quite a few people, and found her in a rain shelter about 2 li away. Probably because she was young and had sticky fingers. Even as a beggar she was disliked and pushed out by others, so she could only hide in this drafty rain shelter on all sides, fondling that stolen little rabbit like a treasure. Until I suddenly spoke up. "Excuse me, could you return that rabbit to me?" The smile on her face turned to fright, and she instinctively wanted to run. But I still stopped her. This was a gift from someone. I want to keep it. If you like it, I can carve a new one for you. I wasn't very skilled at this kind of wood carving, but I wasn't completely incapable either. Back in the military camp, Shang Zuoyan would also carve little trinkets in his spare time. Except he didn't use wood, but expensive jade materials. Those materials would become charming little fish jade pendants in his hands, become exquisite and cute 9-ring puzzles. After he requested the imperial decree for our marriage, I even saw him carefully polishing a jade hairpin shaped like green bamboo. I had thought that I could finally have one of these things he poured his heart into. So I also secretly asked craftsmen to teach me, thinking I'd reciprocate his feelings. But in the end, It was just my foolish, wishful thinking. Before I could learn to carve jade ornaments, all those things he carved by hand had already gone into Lucy's room. Even that emerald bamboo jade hairpin was fastened in Lucy's hair bun. But still, the rabbit is also good. I can hold it in my hands, tuck it in my arms. It feels solid and real thinking this in my heart. I lifted my head to glance at Zhao Yi. I had thought she would run away while I was carving, but she didn't. She just watched me timidly yet curiously. When I nearly cut my finger yet again, she suddenly interrupted me. Stop carving. It is ugly as hell. It is not even something valuable if you can't bear to part with it. I'll just give it back to you. Indeed, I was a bit reluctant to part with it. It is embarrassing to say, this rabbit was the first gift I'd ever received that someone gave me with genuine sincerity. If you think it is ugly, how about I practice more? I put down the half-finished rabbit. I stood up, brushing the wood shavings off myself. If you don't mind, would you like to come to my place and eat something? Jiao Shaoyi refused me. Years of drifting and wandering had made her develop an extraordinary sense of wariness. I stole your stuff. How could you possibly be this nice? I get it now. You are in cahoots with those human traffickers, aren't you? You want to sell me to a brothel, too. She ran off warily. I didn't chase after her, because I knew she would definitely follow me. After all, I've experienced days like these before. Compared to being abducted, beaten, or schemed against, sometimes we're more afraid of starving to death. Sure enough, when I returned to the small courtyard to cook noodle soup, she came. She hid outside the kitchen door, her eyes staring fixedly at the pot. Come in and eat. I ladled up a bowl of noodle soup and beckoned to her. Looking at the rising steam, her stomach rumbled several times, and she finally stopped being timid. The freshly cooked noodles were very hot, but she didn't seem afraid at all, not even blowing on them, finishing a bowl in just a few bites. Then, holding the empty bowl, she looked eagerly at the pot again. No rush, I cooked a lot. By the fourth bowl, she seemed a bit embarrassed, slowing down her movements, occasionally looking up at me. After drinking all the soup, she thanked me with reddened ears. Thank you, the noodles were delicious. I am not very good at cooking. The only things I can make decently are steamed buns and noodle soup, which I learned in the mess hall during my first year in the military camp. When in the military, Shang would often practice geomancy and drills until late at night. Occasionally, he would also lose track of time carving jade, staying up until dawn without realizing it at those times. I would always wait up without sleeping. Once he was hungry, I would cook him a bowl of noodle soup. Shang liked my noodles and always praised them. The taste is quite good. But looking at the timid girl before me, I suddenly realized that it wasn't just the noodles. There was also me shielding Shang from arrows, braving the heavy rain to get medicine for him. He seemed to have never said a single thank you to me. I felt somewhat dazed. The words, thank you, which I'd never heard before, left me not knowing how to respond. When I spoke again, my tone was a bit strained. I was in a hurry today and didn't prepare everything properly. If I add some potato sprouts and slice some cured bacon next time, it'll taste even better. When I make it again, you can come try it. Can I really come again? She seemed somewhat unable to believe it. A pair of distinct black and white eyes stared intently at me. As if afraid I'd take it back, she eagerly snatched the empty bowl from my hands. Let me wash the dishes. I am really good at chores. Don't worry, I won't come often. Today is an exception. I won't eat this much next time. She carefully took off her dirty outer garment. She first fetched water to wash her hands clean before starting to scrub the bowls. As if afraid I'd change my mind the moment I opened my mouth, she kept talking nonstop. Watching her small, busy figure somehow, my chest suddenly felt a bit sour. After thinking for a moment, I called out to her, Boju. I just moved to Tuzhou and don't have any family here. Would you be willing to come live with me? She cried. The moment she heard the words, Boju, her movements abruptly froze. Then her shoulders heaved up and down as she wept silently. I didn't quite dare to approach her, because I guessed that she was holding back like this because she didn't want me to see her cry. That night, she ultimately didn't stay. But during the night while I was asleep, she quietly came back, scrubbed the pots and bowls until they gleamed, tidied up the kitchen perfectly, and even added firewood. When I woke up early the next morning, the kitchen had been completely transformed, but it wasn't until nearly nightfall that I saw her again at the courtyard gate, curled up in a ball. A gentle breeze swayed, insects chirped endlessly. In the moonlight, she suddenly stood up, her crying voice choked with sobs. "I've stolen things, done many bad things. Can I still live with you? I won't stay for free. I can do any work, and I won't eat much 1 meal a day." "No, 1 meal every 2 days, even 1 meal every 3 days is fine. It is just, could you call me Baoju like you did yesterday?" Baoju, the system said that before age 5. Her name was Zhang Baoju, with a loving mother and a caring father. She also had an older sister who worked as a maid in a wealthy household in the capital. Her sister would send money home every year, so the family lived fairly comfortably. But 6 years ago, her sister served a dish at a banquet that poisoned a noble. The Zhang family then faced utter catastrophe. The poison naturally wasn't administered by her sister, but to help their own daughter escape punishment, the master's family blamed everything on her sister. Her sister was beaten with 100 strokes of the rod and died on the spot. To eliminate any future troubles, the master's family even sent people to Deer City to wipe out the entire Zhang family. Only Baoju, who was merely 5 years old at the time, escaped the disaster. That is right. Baoju is 11 this year, because of long-term hunger. She is so thin and weak that she only looks 7 or 8 years old. Actually, even without the system telling me, I could guess who the poisoned person was. After all, before the Princess Cheng's marriage, the incident of her being framed and poisoned was no secret in the capital. At this moment, looking at the girl before me whose height only reaches my chest, listening to her pleading tone, I suddenly had the urge to give her a hug, so I walked over. "Hello, Zhang Baoju, I am Shen Tan, not the despised dog girl. Not the Sergeant Shen who follows behind General Shang trying to curry favor, and not Shang Zhuoyan's Fion either. Shen Tan, me name, Baoju finally stayed. The next day I took her to the street, had 2 new outfits tailored for her, and bought some vegetable seedlings and chicks, preparing for a long-term stay. On the way, she said, "I'll pay you back the kindness of taking me in, and the money you spent on me. Someday I'll pay it all back." The young girl's eyes were clear and distinct, filled with sincerity. I smiled and didn't refuse, because I knew that no matter how young or destitute a person is, they have their dignity. After washing up and putting on fitting clothes, she finally looked like a proper girl. As she said, she is very good at doing chores. Fetching water and chopping firewood, she'd scramble to do it all. The duck and chicken chicks at home were also things she scrambled to take care of. Since she scrambled for them, I didn't stop her, because having things to do allowed her to live here with peace of mind. I wasn't idle either. After renting a place and settling household expenses with the silver I earned from the caravan, I didn't have much left, so I found work as a bodyguard in the city. Since I didn't take long-distance jobs, I didn't earn much, but it was enough, though I didn't go far. There were inevitably times when I'd only come back after 2 or 3 days. Once when I returned home after finishing work, I suddenly found people blocking the courtyard gate, and Baoju, surrounded by the crowd in the middle, spoke with a firm and powerful voice. "I'll pay it back. I am already making money. I'll pay it all back soon. But those mistakes were all mine. One person does it, one person takes responsibility. You have to promise me you won't go looking for my sister." It turned out that after learning I had taken in Zhao Xiaoyi, all the victims who had lost property because of her came looking one after another. Baoju made a ledger, carefully recording every debt one by one. She also took advantage of my absence from home, finishing the farm work early every day to go help wash dishes at a tavern in the city. Washing dishes for 2 days earned 1 copper coin. Her wages were much less than ordinary workers, but she was very happy. Because this was work, The manager only accommodated her with after she begged for a long time. Now, she had already earned 5 copper coins enough to pay off the money for the buns she'd stolen from the bun shop on Osmanthus Lane. Sister, the mistake was mine. I must fix it myself. You can't help me. You took me in, gave me food, and even bought me new clothes. I am very happy, but earning money is so hard. Before buying things for me, you should buy for yourself first. You are good to me because you are kind, but I can't be so shameless and unconscionable, becoming a leech that sucks your blood. When Baoju said this, the victims had already left. Her resolute gaze and mature words left me in a daze. I suddenly realized something wasn't right. Does Baoju really need me to redeem her? Does a person really need another person to become their savior? If she needs it, why doesn't Baoju rely on me at all? But if she doesn't need it, then what was all that I did for Shang before? What were those days, hoping day after day that he could redeem me too? My thoughts were in chaos. In my daze, I suddenly heard someone calling, "A tan." The man seemed to have run here frantically, his voice slightly breathless. The autumn wind rustled, and the trees showed deep red emerging from pale yellow. I turned around and saw Shang standing outside the door, the setting sun stretching his shadow long. "A tan, I finally found you. I thought I had the wrong place again. I always thought those rumors about mandrill monkeys circulating around town were just gossip. After all, ever since Shang fell from his horse, everyone knew he had lost his memory. How important was Lu Shi to him? He could even pretend to have amnesia for her sake and accompany her away from the capital to seek medical treatment. He could even deliberately request an imperial decree for marriage when he learned that the crown prince and Lu Shi had become suspicious because of him. How could he possibly abandon Lu Shi and rush here just because I left? That is right. When these rumors first appeared in the capital, I didn't believe them. At that time, I was still quite full of myself. I thought my 5 years of companionship had finally earned Shang Juoyan's deep affection. I thought when he scolded the noble ladies spreading rumors in front of the crown prince and Lu Shi, Ian held me affectionately in his arms, promising to give me the most grand wedding. He was backing me up and giving me confidence. Until the crown prince and Lu Shi divorced, and he brought her back to the residence to settle her in. Until they prepared to depart for Shu, I passed by the side courtyard and happened to overhear Lu Shi saying to her maid, "If I had known Brother Shang had such deep feelings for me, I wouldn't have chosen to become crown princess no matter what back then." Exactly, His Highness the Crown Prince is too petty. To dispel his doubts and prevent him from being harsh on you, General Shang even deliberately wrote a journal about Miss Shen. Such thoughtfulness is rare in this world. Only then did I understand that even that journal filled with my name was actually filled with deep affection for Lu Shi. I know he has no place for me in his heart. Therefore, I naturally doubt his intentions in coming here. But Shang Juoyan doesn't know what I am thinking, he said. "Atan, I remember now. I remember everything. It is my fault. I shouldn't have raced horses with Prince Cheng in the street. Otherwise, I wouldn't have lost my memory and forgotten you, making you sad. Prince Cheng has already taken Princess Cheng away. I no longer need to accompany her to seek medical treatment. There is still 1 month until our wedding date. Will you come back to the capital with me? Let's get married on the originally scheduled day." See, he is still lying. He doesn't know that I've long been aware his amnesia was faked. Now that Lu Shi no longer needs him, he finally remembers me. Summonon squeezed my hand. I looked down and saw Baoju with wide eyes, staring intently at Shang Juoyan. Probably because of that phrase, "return to the capital." The girl's face was full of vigilance. My heart stirred slightly. I squeezed her hand back and smiled at Shang Juoyan. "Young master, who are you? I think you must have mistaken me for someone else." Shang Juoyan didn't believe I didn't remember him, because he knew that amnesia could be faked. "Atan, I don't believe you've forgotten me. I also know you resent me. Yes, it is my fault for making you sad. You have every right to resent me, but our marriage was bestowed by His Majesty. It cannot be treated as child's play. Come back with me. Okay, I promise this kind of thing will never happen again. Imperial marriage decree. It doesn't matter. Because the mission failed, the system will intervene. It will gradually erase the traces of my mission. First, the rumors will gradually cease. Then people will gradually forget that there was once a woman disguised as a man, Captain Shen, by Shang Zuoyan's side. The servants of the noble Shang family's mansion in the capital would also gradually forget that Shang Zuoyan had once requested an imperial decree for marriage, forget that he had a fiancée who was about to marry him. Only Shang Zuoyan would be left with memories of me, constantly doubting himself in a world without me. Of course, I wouldn't tell him these things. Therefore, I still smiled at him. Young master, you say you are my fiancée. I am sorry, I don't remember. Without looking at Shang Zuoyan's gradually paling face, I brought Bao Zhu into the house, but he didn't leave. He stayed in the city, and every day he would go out of the city to look for me. He would either suddenly appear when I was doing farm work, telling me how much he regretted it, or when I was escorting goods, he would follow at a distance, neither too close nor too far, taking advantage of free moments to come forward and introduce himself to the escort guards traveling with me, saying he was my fiancée. He even refused to leave when I was cooking huimian noodles, asking me, "Atan, do you remember? In the past, when we were in the army, you would often cook huimian noodles for me in the middle of the night. I've eaten delicacies from land and sea, and I've also eaten chaff and swallowed vegetables, but that bowl of huimian noodles with 2 slices of cured meat was the most delicious food I've ever had in my life." He even took out that notebook filled with my name, counting page by page. You blocked arrows for me, carried me back to the military camp. I remember every single thing. Atan, it is okay if you don't want to remember now. I can wait, no matter how long I am willing to wait. He seems to be trying to please me, trying to please everyone around me, even towards Bao Zhu. He is so attentive that he humbles himself. That night, while sleeping, Bao Zhu suddenly asked me, "Sister, will you go to the capital?" I can tell that General Shang truly regrets it now. "Sister, if you also want to marry him and live a good life with him, you can go back. Don't let me hold you back. I don't want to be a burden. I hope you'll be happy, and I hope you won't worry about anything else and only consider your own heart's desire." Just like when I didn't consider the consequences and desperately grabbed onto you, she held me very tight. In the past 2 months, she has finally put on some weight and grown a bit taller, but she still felt bony enough to hurt me a little. I think I was probably wrong. Perhaps I cannot redeem others, because even if I take a blade for someone else, I still cannot become their savior. Even less should I place the hope of crawling out of the mire and swamp on someone else, because I cannot predict whether what that person throws down is a life-saving rope or a deadly hook and chain. Perhaps true redemption just needs a single call, a call of Bao Zhu, a call of Shen Tan. With direction, we can climb up on our own. How ridiculous that I only understand such a simple truth now. I am not going anywhere. Patting Bao Zhu's back, I gently coaxed her. I thought, I can't drag this out like this. I should make things clear with Shang Zuoyan. And the day I arranged to meet Shang Zuoyan at the tavern, the weather was clear. Without beating around the bush, I got straight to the point. That is right, I haven't lost my memory. I just don't want to return to the capital, don't want to get married. That is all. Shang Zuoyan's hand tightened around his wine cup. His expression showed some disbelief. Why, there is clearly no one by your side except that little girl. No, there is. Is it that escort who jokes around with you, or that accountant who always greets you with a cheerful smile? He was somewhat flustered. Even his tone became urgent. Atan, 5 years you've waited for me, for a full 5 years. I don't believe you'd have a change of heart in such a short time. Indeed, it is hard for someone to have a change of heart in a short time. For someone you don't like, you won't suddenly fall in love just because you noticed they were gone. My tone was flat, polite, and courteous. General Shang, that day when you and Miss Lu were embracing, discussing how to use amnesia to delay the wedding, I was standing right outside the door. You ask me why I don't want to go back. Why I don't want to marry you? Actually, I've thought about this question too. Is it because the system said the mission failed? Or do I mind him embracing Lucia? Mind him faking amnesia? It doesn't seem to be entirely that 5 years of pursuit. I had developed feelings for him. I once fantasized about successfully redeeming him one day. I also naively thought that as long as the redemption succeeded, Shang would love me the way I loved him, even when the system informed me the mission had failed and was about to launch the next mission. I once fantasized for a moment that he would be filled with regret, suddenly realizing he had feelings for me in his heart and would try to win me back just like this. But when it actually happened, I felt it was just so just like that candied hawthorn I saw when I was 8 years old and starving. The candied hawthorn was bright red, and everyone said it was sweet. I thought about it for so long that during those years of wandering and hardship, my birthday wish every year was for it. So long that when I finally got my military pay and had money to spare, I was willing to buy one only to discover it was completely different from what I'd imagined. Too little sweetness, too much sourness. I only took one bite before throwing it all away. Even if the remaining sugar coating looked delicious, I didn't want to endure sourness all day just for that little bit of sweetness. And I don't want to wrong myself anymore for his pretend love. General Shang, look at your journal, densely filled with how I sought medicine for you, how I blocked arrows for you, accompanied you out of hell. A whole book full of you writing how fortunate to have me, how good to have me, how you wouldn't know how to live without me. But among all those words, not a single sentence says you love me. Actually, back when you were carving jade pieces, I also thought that if you gave me one, even if it was a failed carving you casually tossed to me, I would treasure it and keep it safe. But later I discovered that a wooden carved rabbit is better than jade. It won't shatter with one drop, and I can carry it with me every day. Indeed, jade pieces are beautiful and expensive, but I don't want them anymore. That is all. After parting at the tavern, I never saw Shang Juoyan again. That day before I left, he grabbed me. His voice was hoarse and rough. "Atan, don't be like this. Give me a chance. I'll change. I will definitely change." But I said nothing and turned to leave. I thought I had made myself so clear that he should have given up trying to persuade me and returned to the capital. But when I came back from my next escort job, I found that Baoju was gone. In the empty room, there was only a guard and an envelope. Inside, the envelope was a thin piece of paper. "Atan, come back to the capital. The little girl and I are waiting for you at the manor. Miss Shen, please return to the capital." I recognized this guard. When Shang Juoyan and Lu Shi left the capital to seek medical treatment, he went with them. And now, he had been left behind to persuade me. You don't know that day when he heard you had left and gone to Tuzhou with a merchant caravan, the general nearly went mad, without a second thought. He abandoned Miss Lu. "We didn't have enough men. We searched Tuzhou for several days, and finally found the caravan with great difficulty, only to discover you weren't there. The general has you in his heart. You two were about to get married. What obstacle can't be overcome? Just give in a little, give in. Why should I? Shang Juoyan abducted Baoju, wasn't it just to force my hand? With such forceful tactics, how could I possibly give in? I didn't listen to the guard any further. I pulled out that dust-covered red-tasseled spear from under the bed, rushed back to the escort agency, and borrowed a horse. After 2 days and 1 night, I finally caught up with Shang Juoyan's carriage on the official road. When he saw me coming, his eyes lit up for a moment. But when he caught sight of me raising my red-tasseled spear, the light in his eyes instantly dimmed. "Atan, are you truly unwilling to give me even the slightest chance? Shang Juoyan, I thought I had already left you enough dignity." He commanded the winds and clouds on the battlefield. In the capital, he also wielded great power and influence. He was even accustomed to me obeying his every word. When had he ever seen me so full of killing intent, facing him with weapons drawn? In an instant, his expression darkened. "Atan, I thought that even if I pretended to have amnesia and deceived you, we wouldn't come to this." But I no longer wanted to waste words with him. "Where is Baoju?" Where is Baozhu? MMPH, the carriage was being kicked from inside with loud bang-bang sounds, tied up and gagged. He actually treated a child the way he would treat a prisoner of war. Me mind went boom, with a roar rage surged from within my heart. Without thinking, I attacked him with my spear. Shang didn't dodge or move, but instead signaled his guards to seize me. Atan, you know, I cannot be without you. Even if you hate me, you must return to the capital with me today. I was defeated. These guards were different from ordinary bandits, having received rigorous training since childhood. Even with all my combat experience, I was no match for them. When my arms were twisted behind my back, Shang finally dismounted and walked over. He wiped away the blood dripping from my temple. A trace of helplessness flashed in his eyes as he sighed softly. Atan, you never used to care who I gave things to, nor did you mind that I loved others. Why is it different now? I've already apologized to you, and I can promise you that from now on, there will be no one else in the residence besides you. Come back to the capital with me. Indeed, I had stayed by Shang Juoyan's side for 5 years, never caring when he was heartbroken over others, never minding who he gave the jade pieces he spent all night polishing to, single-mindedly thinking that as long as I did enough for him, one day he would see me. But at this very moment, hearing him ask, "Why is it different now?" I finally realized. Me relationship with him had been unequal from the very beginning. Baozhu said, "Before buying new clothes for others, you should buy them for yourself first." But when I was by Shang Juoyan's side, I never considered these things. So he naturally assumed I didn't need them, assumed I would forgive unconditionally. Shang Juoyan, it has nothing to do with anyone else. We can't go back. Taking an arrow for you and getting hurt, it was very painful. Being confined in your residence with its high walls, learning etiquette I didn't know, wearing clothes I didn't like, waiting for you who could abandon me at any time I wasn't happy either. If you insist on taking me back to the capital." After a pause, I threw down the red-tasseled spear in my hand. "Then take my corpse with you." Shang Juoyan ultimately didn't take me. He had someone untie Baozhu, watching that little girl throw herself into my arms, hearing her cry and ask, "Sister, are you hurt? Does it hurt? Are you stupid before saving me? Didn't you know to protect yourself? You should have just waited for me at home. I would have come back on my own, no matter how far I could have walked back." Only then did he realize that I had been injured multiple times saving him before. It seemed he had never once asked me if my wounds hurt, nor had he ever told me, "You don't need to rush toward me recklessly. I'll come to you." He was skilled at commanding troops and strategy. He also thought he understood me. Before coming to Lucheng, he had already planned how to bring me back to the capital. Soften up, admit fault, show weakness. If none of that worked, he would resort to force no matter what. But the moment he saw me throw the red-tasseled spear on the ground, he felt somewhat dazed, suddenly realizing he seemed to have never known me at all. The road back to the capital was too long. It left him irritable and restless. On the first day back at the manor, his first order of business was supposed to be bathing, changing clothes, and entering the palace. But seeing the festive red throughout the manor, he instantly lost all interest in going out. These red silks and red lanterns he had ordered people to return to the manor and decorate on the day he decided to go to Lucheng. Since he didn't bring me back to the capital, he should have had them all taken down. But several times the words came to his lips. He felt reluctant to let go. Perhaps a tan will suddenly come around. Perhaps the wedding will proceed as originally planned, and when the wedding day arrives, a tan will suddenly appear just like before when my life hung by a thread. Who knows? He thought this way. But until the night before the wedding, I never appeared. Instead, Lu Shiai came to find him herself. She seemed to have been crying, her eyes red. Her voice also carried a sobbing tone. "Brother Shang, Prince Chang brought me back not to reconcile with me, and never intended to take me to Shu to seek medical treatment. He just resents that I left the capital with you right after the divorce, hurting his pride. These past days he has locked me up every day and even laid hands on me. I am so scared." tomorrow is your wedding day. If Miss Shen doesn't come back, why don't you marry me instead? Didn't you say before that you wanted to marry me? Afterwards, we can find a chance to explain to the emperor, then go to Shu, all right? Indeed, he once loved Lu Shiyai deeply. After Lu Shiyai married Prince Cheng, he once felt that life was meaningless. To prevent her from being suspected by Prince Cheng when the wrong kingdom raised troops, he volunteered to go meet the enemy. Even after returning to the capital, he heard that Prince Cheng was having conflicts with Lu Shiyi because of him. To dispel Prince Cheng's doubts, he immediately requested an imperial decree for marriage. Even that notebook filled with Shentan's name was all for show. But at this very moment, looking at the woman throwing herself into his arms, anger suddenly surged in his chest. Couldn't hold it in, and for the first time lost my temper at Lu Shiyai. Get lost, all of you, get lost. Don't let me see you again. That night, he sat alone in the disheveled study. It wasn't until the dead of night that his chaotic thoughts settled a bit. His stomach rumbled. In a daze, he thought he was still in the army, and instinctively called out, "Atan, I am hungry." But the only response was a maidservant pushing the door open and entering. "General, shall this servant prepare some snacks for you?" Looking at the empty night behind the maidservant, it felt like a piece of his chest was also empty, letting in the cold wind, no snacks. He thought. All he wanted was just a bowl of steaming hot Hoimian noodles. Everything that happened in the capital, I didn't know about. That day, after rescuing Baoju, I brought her back to Deer City. She still rushed to do farm work every day and wash dishes at the tavern. And I also continued escorting goods as usual. During leisure time, I'd chop firewood and work the fields together with her. Baoju worked very hard. The first month, she sent the money she'd saved to blacksmith Like's household at the city wall. The second month, she went alone to cripple Wu's house, 2 li away, bringing a laying hen. The system notified me of the redemption mission's success on a very ordinary morning half a year later. That day, she personally crossed out the last line of debt on her little ledger and came running happily to call me. "Sister, look, I did. She did it. She redeemed herself." On the contrary, it is me who seems to have never done anything for her. So after thinking about it, I took out the newly carved little rabbit from my bosom. "Congratulations, this is for you." Recently, my craftsmanship has become increasingly skilled in the past. I was clumsy and awkward, even carving shapes that looked strange. Now I can carve them lifelike and adorably charming. Baoju really liked it and couldn't put it down. Her eyes were bright as she threw herself into my arms. Looking at her like that, she seemed about to cry. "Sister, thank you." She seemed to have grown taller. Looking at her sleeves that had become more than half too short when she stretched out her arms, I thought to myself, I should make her new clothes. I should also make a set for myself. I heard news of Shang again 3 months later on the day. Baoju and I left Lucheng and arrived in Weizhou. Weizhou had newly established a girls' school. The headmaster of the girls' school was an old acquaintance of the escort agency's master. Hearing that the girls' school wanted to hire a female teacher to teach martial arts, the master recommended me to the headmaster. The eateries in Weizhou were very crowded. The sounds were also very mixed. I vaguely heard people saying that General Shang from the capital seems to have really gone mad, telling everyone he meets that he once had a fiancée whose marriage was bestowed by His Majesty, and they nearly got married. A bestowed marriage, how is that possible? I've never even heard of it. Forget about you not hearing of it. Even those nobles haven't heard of it at morning court. Even His Majesty scolded him for having hysteria and told him to remove his armor and go get treatment. Now everyone in the capital is speculating, guessing whether it is because Prince Cheng and Princess Cheng divorced because of him last year, and he is afraid of Prince Cheng's revenge, so he is pretending to be crazy. The system's cleanup had already taken effect. Now, aside from Shang himself, no one remembered that he had petitioned for a bestowed marriage. His daily behavior of seeking confirmation from people had already made them view him as a madman, but all of this has nothing to do with me. Now, I only need to consider how to live my own life well. For example, What dishes to order today? How to get Baoju enrolled in the girls' school tomorrow? Preserved vegetable pork with stuffed eggplant. These are all what I like to eat, sister. Didn't you say to let you order what you like first? Forget it. Let me order instead. Baoju snatched the menu away. Do you have roasted chicken and lotus root boxes? My sister likes to eat these two dishes. Watching Baoju earnestly studying the menu, me heart felt somewhat soft. These past few months she had grown very quickly in height, already almost reaching my eyebrows. To pat her head, I even need to raise my hand high. Now she is no longer that Jiao Xiaoyi who is filthy all over, throwing tantrums and rolling on the street. She is graceful and poised, with a capable personality and pretty features, just like a little adult. Occasionally, when she puts on a stern face and gets angry, she is even somewhat intimidating. Sis, I've told you so many times before you are good to me, you need to be good to yourself first. How come you always forget? Look, she has started bluffing again. I feel like laughing a bit, and I really can't hold it in, gently rubbing her head, pinching her cheeks. Okay, in the past, I didn't know how to be good to myself. In the future, I'll slowly learn. Respect and being seen are the keys to healing. Zheng Baoju was called Jia Xiaoyi and Jinx by the world, yet she broke down in tears the moment Shentan called out Baoju. Shentan herself, after being ignored by Shang for many years, learned to be good to herself first under Baoju's care. Everyone needs to be respected and seen. A word of recognition, a bit of attention, might just be the light that illuminates someone else's dark years.